Greetings, my friends. Today I want to share with you a story of a young girl's bravery, a mother's love, and the unbreakable bond between the two. Enjoy the story. Anna Matthews sat on the plush leather couch in her family's expansive living room, her eyes fixed on the glossy pages of her favorite teen magazine. But the latest celebrity gossip couldn't hold her attention today. Instead, the 12-year-old's gaze kept darting to the hallway, where her soon-to-be stepfather, Arthur, was pacing back and forth, his voice low and hushed as he spoke on his cell phone. "Oh, come on, baby," Arthur cooed, a sly grin spreading across his face. "You know I can't wait to see you again. Sarah's out running errands, so we've got plenty of time to talk." Anna's stomach churned. Sarah was her mother, the woman Arthur was supposed to be marrying in just a few short weeks. So who was this baby he was talking to? As Arthur's conversation continued, peppered with flirtatious laughter and promises Anna knew he had no intention of keeping with her mother, she felt a familiar anger bubbling up inside her. Ever since Arthur had entered their lives 2 years ago, things had changed. Her once vibrant mother had become a shadow of herself, constantly trying to please Arthur and make everything perfect for their upcoming wedding. Anna missed the days when it was just her and her mom, curled up on the couch watching cheesy rom-coms and eating ice cream straight from the carton. Now, their spacious home felt more like a museum, everything polished and perfect, but cold and untouchable. As Arthur's voice grew fainter, disappearing into his home office, Anna made a split-second decision. She needed to talk to someone who would understand, someone who wouldn't dismiss her concerns as the overactive imagination of a preteen. She needed Peter. Slipping on her well-worn sneakers, Anna crept towards the front door. "I'm going for a bike ride," she called out, knowing Arthur was too engrossed in his phone call to care. Without waiting for a response, she darted out into the warm summer air. Anna pedaled furiously, her long brown hair streaming behind her as she left behind the manicured lawns and McMansions of her neighborhood. The farther she rode, the more the scenery changed. Perfectly pruned hedges gave way to overgrown bushes, and shiny SUVs were replaced by cars that had seen better days. Finally, Anna reached her destination, a run-down apartment complex on the edge of town, hidden from view by a thick cluster of trees. This was Peter's world, so different from her own, yet the only place where Anna truly felt she could be herself. Standing beneath Peter's second-floor window, Anna let out a sharp whistle, their secret signal. A moment later, a mop of unruly black hair appeared, followed by the grinning face of her 14-year-old friend. "Hey, Trouble," Peter called down, his dark eyes twinkling with mischief. "Coming up?" With practiced ease, Anna scrambled up the fire escape and through Peter's window, landing with a soft thud on the worn carpet of his bedroom. "What's wrong?" Peter asked immediately, noticing the worry lines creasing Anna's forehead. "Is it Arthur again?" Anna nodded, sinking onto Peter's bed. "I overheard him on the phone with some woman. He was calling her baby and talking about how they'd have time alone while my mom was out." Peter's face darkened. "That sleazeball. Have you told your mom?" Anna shook her head, tears pricking at the corners of her eyes. "She won't listen to me, Pete. Every time I try to say something bad about Arthur, she gets all defensive and says I'm just having trouble adjusting to the changes." Peter sat down next to her, bumping her shoulder gently with his own. "That sucks, Anna Banana, but you've got to keep trying. Your mom deserves to know the truth before she marries this jerk." Anna nodded, drawing strength from her friend's unwavering support. "You're right. I'll try talking to her again tonight. Thanks, Pete." As Anna prepared to leave, Peter caught her arm. "Hey, if things get tough at home, you know you can always come here, right? Mi casa es su casa and all that?" Anna smiled, feeling lighter than she had in weeks. "I know. You're the best, Pete." As she climbed back out the window, Anna couldn't help but marvel at the differences between her world and Peter's. Her house may have been bigger and fancier, but there was a warmth here, in this tiny cluttered apartment, that had been missing from her own home ever since Arthur arrived. With renewed determination, Anna pedaled home, ready to confront her mother with the truth about her fiancé. Little did she know, the evening ahead would bring more heartache than she could have imagined. Anna returned home to find the house eerily quiet, Peering into the kitchen, she saw her mother, Sarah, methodically chopping vegetables for dinner. The rhythmic thud of the knife against the cutting board was the only sound in the otherwise silent room. "Hey, Mom," Anna said cautiously, sliding onto a bar stool at the kitchen island. "Need any help?" Sarah looked up, a fleeting smile crossing her face before the worry lines returned. "Oh, hi, sweetie. No, I've got it under control. Arthur's heading out for the evening bachelor party planning with the guys, so I thought we could have a girls' night. How does homemade pizza sound?" Anna's heart leapt at the prospect of spending time alone with her mom, just like old times. "That sounds great. Can I help with the dough?" As they worked side by side, kneading the dough and chatting about Anna's upcoming school year, she almost forgot about the gnawing worry in her stomach. But then Arthur sauntered into the kitchen, and the bubble of happiness burst. "Hey, babe," he said, planting a kiss on Sarah's cheek. "I'm heading out. Can I borrow some cash? I forgot to hit the ATM." Sarah's smile faltered for just a moment before she reached for her purse. "Of course, honey. How much do you need?" "A couple hundred should do it," Arthur replied smoothly, pocketing the bills Sarah handed him without a word of thanks. As he turned to leave, Arthur ruffled Anna's hair, a gesture that made her skin crawl. "Don't wait up, ladies. It might be a late one." The moment the front door closed behind him, Anna couldn't hold back any longer. "Mom, we need to talk about Arthur." Sarah's back stiffened as she turned to face her daughter. "Anna, please, not this again." "But Mom, you don't understand. I heard him on the phone today, talking to some other woman. He called her baby and—" "Enough!" Sarah's voice cracked like a whip, making Anna flinch. "I don't want to hear another word about this, Anna. Arthur loves us. He's going to be your stepfather, and I won't have you making up stories to try and ruin our happiness. Do you understand me?" Tears welled up in Anna's eyes. "But Mom, I'm not making it up. Why won't you believe me?" Sarah's face softened for a moment, but then the walls came back up. "Go to your room, Anna. I think we both need some time to cool off." As Anna fled up the stairs, her vision blurred by tears, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was losing her mother to a man who didn't deserve her. Collapsing onto her bed, Anna buried her face in her pillow and let the sobs come. Hours later, she was jolted awake by the sound of raised voices. Creeping to her bedroom door, Anna pressed her ear against the cool wood, straining to hear. "Where have you been?" Sarah's voice was tight with anger and worry. "It's 3 a.m., Arthur." "Relax, babe," Arthur slurred, his words running together. "Just lost track of time with the boys. No big deal." "No big deal? You reek of perfume, Arthur, and it's not mine." There was a long pause, followed by the sound of stumbling footsteps. "Don't be ridiculous, Sarah. You're imagining things. I'm going to bed." Anna's heart raced. This was her chance. Surely now her mother would see Arthur for who he really was. But as she heard her mother's defeated sigh and the soft click of their bedroom door, she realized with a sinking feeling that nothing had changed. Sarah was still blind to Arthur's true nature, and Anna was more alone than ever. The next day, Anna found herself once again perched on the rickety fire escape outside Peter's window, pouring out the events of the previous night. "I don't know what to do, Pete," she finished, wiping away a stray tear. "Mom won't listen to me, and the wedding is in less than a week. I can't let her marry that jerk." Peter's brow furrowed in concentration. "We need proof," he said finally. "Something your mom can't ignore or explain away." Anna's eyes widened. "Like what?" A mischievous grin spread across Peter's face. "What if we caught Arthur red-handed? On video?" As Peter outlined his plan, Anna felt a mixture of excitement and fear bubbling up inside her. It was risky, no doubt about it. If they got caught, she'd be in more trouble than she'd ever been in her life. But the alternative, watching her mother marry a lying, cheating scumbag, was unthinkable. "Okay," Anna said, her voice steadier than she felt. "Let's do it." The next few days passed in a blur of wedding preparations and covert operations. While Sarah was distracted by flower arrangements and seating charts, Anna and Peter put their plan into motion. Using a tiny camera Peter had borrowed from his older brother, they managed to capture footage of Arthur's late-night phone calls and secret meetings. But their big break came just 2 days before the wedding, when they followed Arthur to a seedy motel on the outskirts of town. Hidden behind a dumpster in the parking lot, Anna felt her stomach lurch as she watched Arthur embrace a scantily clad woman who was definitely not her mother. "Got it," Peter whispered triumphantly, holding up the camera. "This is the smoking gun, Anna. Your mom can't ignore this." But as they biked home, the reality of what they were about to do hit Anna full force. This wasn't just about exposing Arthur anymore. She was about to shatter her mother's world, to humiliate her in front of all their friends and family at what was supposed to be the happiest day of her life. "Pete," Anna said, her voice small, "are we doing the right thing?" Peter stopped his bike, turning to face her with an uncharacteristically serious expression. "Anna, think about it. If we don't do this now, your mom could be stuck with this loser for years. She might have kids with him. How much worse would it be to find out the truth then?" Anna nodded, squaring her shoulders. "You're right. We have to do this. For Mom." As they parted ways, Anna couldn't shake the feeling that her life was about to change forever. For better or worse, the truth would come out at the wedding. All she could do now was hope that her mother would forgive her for being the messenger. The big day arrived in a flurry of white tulle and nervous energy. Anna stood in front of the full-length mirror in the bridal suite, barely recognizing the girl staring back at her. Her usually unruly brown hair had been tamed into soft curls, and the pale pink bridesmaid dress made her look older than her 12 years. But it was the haunted look in her eyes that truly made her seem like a stranger to herself. "Oh, honey, you look beautiful," Sarah gushed, appearing behind Anna in the mirror. Her mother was radiant in her wedding gown, her face glowing with happiness. For a moment, Anna's resolve wavered. How could she destroy this moment for her mom? But then she remembered the footage hidden in her small purse, and her determination returned. This wasn't about ruining a wedding. It was about saving her mother from a lifetime of lies and heartbreak. "Thanks, Mom," Anna managed, forcing a smile. "You look amazing." As they made their way to the grand ballroom of the Ritz-Carlton, where the ceremony and reception were being held, Anna's heart raced. She'd convinced the wedding planner to let her give a speech during the reception, claiming it was a surprise for her mom. Little did anyone know just how surprising it would be. The ceremony passed in a blur. Anna barely registered the vows being exchanged. Her mind focused solely on what was to come. As Arthur leaned in to kiss the bride, sealing their union, Anna felt a tear slip down her cheek. But it wasn't a tear of joy. It was mourning for the life she and her mom had lost the day Arthur entered their lives. The reception was in full swing, the dance floor packed with tipsy guests attempting to do the Macarena, when the DJ's voice cut through the noise. And now, a special surprise from the bride's daughter, Anna. A hush fell over the crowd as Anna made her way to the small stage. Her palms were sweating as she gripped the microphone, scanning the sea of faces until she found her mother's encouraging smile. Hi everyone," Anna began, her voice shaky. I wanted to say a few words about my mom and Arthur." She took a deep breath, steeling herself for what was to come. "Mom, you've always taught me that honesty is the most important thing in any relationship. That's why I can't stand here and pretend to be happy about this marriage when I know the truth." A confused murmur rippled through the crowd. Sarah's smile faltered, while Arthur's face darkened with anger. "Anna," he hissed, loud enough for the microphone to pick up. "That's enough. Sit down." But Anna pressed on, her voice growing stronger. "I have proof that Arthur has been cheating on my mom, and I think everyone here deserves to see it." Before anyone could stop her, Anna nodded to Peter, who had snuck in and was waiting by the AV equipment. The lights dimmed, and suddenly the incriminating footage was playing on the large screen behind Anna. Gasps and shocked exclamations filled the room, as image after image of Arthur's infidelity flashed across the screen. The final blow was the video from the motel, leaving no doubt as to Arthur's guilt. "Anna!" Sarah's anguished cry cut through the chaos. "How could you do this?" But Anna's eyes were fixed on Arthur, who had turned an alarming shade of purple. "You little brat!" he snarled, lunging towards the stage. What happened next would be talked about in their small town for years to come. Arthur, in his rage, tripped over his own feet and face-planted directly into the towering wedding cake. As he flailed, covered in frosting and red-faced with humiliation, the entire room erupted into pandemonium. Amid the shouting and confusion, Anna slipped away, her heart pounding. She'd done it. She'd exposed Arthur for the lying cheat he was. But at what cost? As she burst out of the hotel's front doors, gulping in the cool night air, Anna caught sight of a familiar figure leaning against a nearby tree. "You okay, Trouble?" Peter asked, concern etched on his face. Anna shook her head, tears finally spilling over. "I don't know, Pete. I think I just ruined everything." Without a word, Peter pulled her into a hug. "Come on," he said gently. "I know a place we can go." Peter led Anna to a secluded spot by the river, a place they'd discovered on one of their many adventures together. As they sat on the grassy bank, watching the moonlight ripple on the water's surface, Anna finally let out all the emotions she'd been holding back. "I just wanted to protect her," she sobbed, her words muffled against Peter's shoulder. "But what if she hates me now? What if I've ruined everything?" Peter stroked her hair gently, a gesture so uncharacteristically tender that it made Anna cry even harder. "You did the right thing, Anna Banana. Your mom might be hurt and angry right now, but she needed to know the truth. You're the bravest person I know." As Anna's sobs subsided into hiccups, they heard the sound of approaching footsteps. Looking up, Anna's heart leapt into her throat at the sight of her mother, still in her wedding dress, mascara streaking down her cheeks. "Mom," Anna whispered, scrambling to her feet. "I'm so sorry, But before she could finish, Sarah had crossed the distance between them and enveloped Anna in a fierce hug. "Oh, sweetheart," she murmured, her voice thick with emotion. "I'm the one who should be sorry. I should have listened to you. I should have seen what was right in front of me." Anna clung to her mother, relief washing over her in waves. "You're not mad at me?" Sarah pulled back, cupping Anna's face in her hands. "Mad? No, honey, I'm grateful. You saved me from making the biggest mistake of my life. I was so caught up in the idea of having a perfect family that I couldn't see how perfect we already were, just the two of us." As they embraced again, Sarah noticed Peter hovering awkwardly nearby. "And who's this young man?" she asked, her eyebrow raised in a way that made Anna blush. "This is Peter, Mom. He's my best friend. He helped me with everything." Sarah extended her hand to Peter, who shook it with surprising formality. "Thank you, Peter, for being there for my daughter when I couldn't be. I owe you a debt of gratitude." Peter shuffled his feet, clearly uncomfortable with the praise. "It was nothing, Mrs. Matthews. Anna's pretty great. She'd do the same for me." As the three of them sat by the river, Sarah asked Peter about himself, her eyes widening as she learned about his living situation and family struggles. Anna watched in amazement as her mother's nurturing instincts, which had been suppressed during her relationship with Arthur, came flooding back. "Peter, how would you and your family like to join us for dinner tomorrow night?" Sarah asked suddenly. "I think we could all use a fresh start, don't you?" Peter's eyes lit up at the prospect of a home-cooked meal. "That would be awesome, Mrs. Matthews. Thank you." As they made plans for the following evening, Anna felt a warmth spreading through her chest. This was how things were supposed to be. Her mom smiling and relaxed, making connections with the people Anna cared about. "You know," Sarah said thoughtfully, "we should make this a real celebration. Anna, what if we invited some of your other friends too? We could call it, I don't know, Cat Day or something silly like that." Anna laughed, remembering the inside joke she and Peter had about cats being secret overlords. "Cat Day sounds perfect, Mom. But why the sudden party?" Sarah's eyes grew misty as she looked at her daughter. "Because, sweetheart, I think it's time we started celebrating the things that really matter, like bravery and honesty, and the kind of love that doesn't need a big fancy wedding to prove itself." As they walked home together, Anna sandwiched between her mom and her best friend, she felt lighter than she had in years. The future, which had seemed so bleak just hours ago, now sparkled with possibility. The Cat Day celebration turned out to be the start of a beautiful new tradition for the Matthews household. Sarah, freed from the constraints of her relationship with Arthur, blossomed into the warm, vivacious woman Anna remembered from her childhood. Their home, once a showpiece designed to impress Arthur's high society friends, became a hub of laughter and warmth. Peter and his family became regular fixtures at the Matthews dinner table, and Sarah took it upon herself to help Peter's struggling single mom find better employment. The two women formed a fast friendship, united by their shared experiences and the love for their children. As for Anna, the ordeal of exposing Arthur had given her a new sense of confidence. She joined the school newspaper, channeling her investigative skills into uncovering cafeteria mysteries and exposing unfair dress code policies. And if she and Peter started spending more time together, hands brushing accidentally as they walked home from school, well, that was a story for another day. One evening, as Anna helped her mom prepare dinner for their now weekly family gathering, Sarah paused in her chopping to look at her daughter. "You know, Anna," she said softly, "I never thanked you properly for what you did at the wedding." Anna shrugged, embarrassed. "Mom, you don't have to—" "No, I do," Sarah insisted. "What you did took incredible courage. You risked everything, my anger, your comfort, our relationship, to do what you knew was right. I couldn't be prouder of the young woman you're becoming." Blinking back tears, Anna hugged her mother tightly. "I love you, Mom. I'm just glad we're okay." Sarah kissed the top of her daughter's head. "We're more than okay, sweetheart. We're exactly where we're supposed to be." As the doorbell rang, signaling the arrival of their guests, Anna couldn't help but smile. Her mother was right. This, the laughter, the love, the sense of belonging, this was what a real happily ever after looked like. And as she went to greet Peter and his family, Anna knew that whatever challenges life might throw their way, they would face them together, just as it should be.
All right, everyone's presentations are done. Nick, the manager, said as he tried to move the discussion forward. Excuse me, I haven't. I recently found out something. Nick interrupted me and began to speak. There's apparently someone in this department who didn't graduate high school and is just a part-timer. Meetings should be for employees only. Absolutely right. His lackey, Mike, of course, agreed with Nick. I'm leaving. After leaving the meeting room, I started to shut down my computer. I noticed that an email had arrived, not in my personal inbox, but in the company's shared email. Thinking, there's no point in speaking up, no one will listen, I went home quietly. The next day, I heard a commotion from Nick's desk. He was staring at his computer screen, his face pale. Nick! Is something wrong? Mike looked at the screen with him. And he turned even paler than Nick. Why is he so angry? Knowing the reason for Mike's distress, I thought to myself, serves them right. My name is Adam. My mother passed away when I was in the 9th grade, and I was raised by my father. Well, you could hardly call it being raised. After my mother passed, my father changed. He drowned his sorrows in alcohol, and though he still went to work, he squandered our living expenses on horse racing. Because of that, I had to start working part-time as soon as I entered high school. Every month, I went to the convenience store with bills in hand that couldn't be auto-deducted from my father's account. Even though I endured it because I didn't want to be alone, I reached my limit in my second year of high school and dropped out. I found a live-in job at a distant inn. Thank you for everything. The day I left home, my father, still staring at the TV, spoke. Take care. That was our last conversation. Back then, 18 wasn't the age of majority, so I needed my father's permission to work, and I couldn't hide my place of employment. Yet, my father never visited me even once. I kept working just to survive, and before I knew it, I was 42. Years of hard work paid off, and I was transferred to the headquarters. I was thrilled to be recognized by the company, as I thought I'd be working in the field until retirement due to my lack of formal education. Listen up. Our work can change the future of our employees. Don't drag us down. On my first day after the transfer, Nick, dressed in an expensive suit, spoke sternly. There was a reason for this. Our inn was located in a prominent tourist destination, known so well that everyone in the state could sing its commercial jingle. At its peak, we had 5 locations within the state. But that was long ago. Due to financial difficulties and aging facilities, only the place where I had worked for many years and the original establishment remained. I was prepared to lose my job anytime, but now there was a glimmer of hope. With the rise of social media, the tourist area where the inn was located started gaining attention again. Depending on how hard the sales department, where I was transferred, worked, we could either thrive or be forced to give up this prime location to the new hotel chains continuously popping up. For Nick, who had switched careers from another industry to strengthen our sales, this was a battle he couldn't afford to lose. I understood why he had to be strict. "I will do my best." Nick sneered at my enthusiastic declaration. "Did you not hear what I said?" "I'm sorry." I thought I was listening carefully. Out of habit from years of customer service, I apologized reflexively, though I had no idea what had offended him. Someone was watching me with a smirk. In this department, there are those who are expected to excel and those who have been shoved here because they have nowhere else to go. You are the latter. It was Mike, the section chief. He's 7 years younger, at 35. But he was called to headquarters much earlier than I was and had been moving around within the headquarters ever since. I'm not jealous, but I can't accept that he's my boss. Graduating from a prestigious university, he has an unusually high pride and caused many problems as a newbie, making things very difficult for me when I was the front desk leader. When I found out Mike was transferred to the sales department a month before me, I was disheartened. Mike is right. With just a middle school diploma, there's not much you can do. Don't even think about achieving results. As if I didn't exist, Nick remarked, "I'm thirsty." Mike eagerly ran to the coffee maker. It seems Mike is Nick's lackey. I regretted being happy about my transfer to headquarters, wishing I had stayed on site forever. Send a direct mail to every company on this list by the end of the day. Nick only assigned me tasks that even a new graduate could handle. What? There are over 1,000 companies. You want me to send to all of them by today? Yes, if you and your fellow misfits split the work, even those with nowhere else to go should finish by today. I glanced at the employees typing away expressionlessly. They were worn out from customer service, only thinking about leaving on time, or were women reassigned after having children, with zero motivation for work. Even Sam, a new graduate from the same university as Mike, who was supposed to be among the expected achievers, had no enthusiasm for the job, having joined the company wanting to do customer service. "I don't care what they say, I plan to quit any time," he said. Only Nick and Mike were highly motivated, making all the decisions between the two of them. I originally only wanted to work at the inn to survive and had no particular attachment to this job. I swallowed my words, thinking I had no right to reprimand them. About a month after the transfer, Nick told us with a frustrated look. "To commemorate the 50th anniversary, we've decided to create a plan exclusive for one group per day. Originally, Mike and I were supposed to come up with it, but our president, Mr. Thompson, insists on hearing everyone's opinions. So, you all get a chance." As Nick explained, Mike began handing out prints. Make sure not to embarrass Nick. If your ideas are half-baked, you'll have to redo them. It seemed that they had printed his handwritten notes by Mr. Thompson, which included several questions and a section for free responses. It made sense why Nick had to seek our input, given that all responses had to be submitted to Mr. Thompson. We were given a week to think about it, and a meeting was scheduled to compile our ideas. My plan is to let guests enjoy both the old and modern America. Nick began the presentations. Guests would watch a master confectioner at a nearby traditional sweet shop make sweets in front of them. The welcome drink would be premium tea in a bottle. Nick's plan was certainly attractive. After his presentation, Nick called on us to present in the order we were seated. Just as I stood up for my turn. "All right, everyone's presentations are done." "Excuse me, I haven't. I recently found out something." Nick interrupted me. "There's someone in this department who didn't graduate high school and is just a part-timer." He was likely talking about me. I joined the company as a part-timer and was made a full-time employee when I turned 20. That was 20 years ago, so Nick and Mike probably had no chance to know until recently. Meetings should be for employees only. Absolutely right. After that, Nick kept creating opportunities to solicit everyone's opinions, purposefully excluding me from speaking. The meeting unexpectedly heated up and went past the scheduled end time. A few people asked to leave, and the discussion continued with the remaining few. Still here? Normally, you'd leave in that situation. Though I had no attachment to the job initially, hearing kind words from customers made me want to make them happier. For someone like me, with nowhere to go, the inn was my home and customer service was my life. I felt pathetic about my current self. I'm leaving. I left the conference room and started shutting down my computer. I noticed an email had arrived, not in my personal inbox, but in the company's shared email. Thinking no one would listen to what I had to say anyway, I quietly went home. The next day, while preparing the DM as instructed, I heard a commotion from Nick's desk. In his haste to stand up, he hit his knee on the desk. He stared at his computer screen, his face pale. Nick! What's wrong? Mike, thinking he should be the first to rush over, approached Nick while still wearing his coat. He peered at the screen with Nick. And he turned even paler than Nick. Why is he so angry? Who is responsible for this company? Nick, more irritated than ever, asked, and Mike answered without checking. Probably Sam. Sam wasn't there because he was attending a morning training session for new hires. Nick gave up on getting angry and returned his gaze to the screen. They were looking at an email that arrived right after the end of the working day yesterday. Apparently, no one, including me, had checked it before leaving. The email was from a large company that used us for their annual employee trips. The president and executives of that company also frequently used our services personally. President of the company, Mr. Mason himself, had declared that neither he nor his company would ever use our services again. Well, some companies cancel their employee trips or stop using our services due to financial struggles. Let's just move on. Mike kept wiping the sweat from his forehead with a handkerchief. Knowing why Mike was so agitated, I quietly watched their interaction. Do you know how much revenue we get from that company? We can find other guests to fill the rooms, but we'll lose the banquet costs, gift shop revenue, rental car fees, and more. Moreover, the gifts were supposed to be prepared by the traditional confectionery shop involved in Nick's proposed plan. If it's known that we incurred such a huge loss at this critical time, Nick's position in the company would be jeopardized. Nick took a deep breath, seemingly trying to calm himself. All right, Mike. Go to New York right now and apologize to Mr. Mason. What? You're coming with me, right? I have urgent work to do. I trust you, which is why I'm entrusting this to you. Please. Mike, believing Nick's sincerity, agreed with a determined look on his face, saying, yes. That's Nick for you. Even if Mike went to apologize, Nick would shift all the blame onto him if the client didn't change their mind. Well, it was Mike's fault to begin with, so it served him right. About 3 hours later, Sam answered a call from somewhere and repeatedly apologized, saying, I'm very sorry. Everyone watched to see what was happening. After ending the call, he informed Nick with a weary tone. When Mike arrived at the client's company, he only made things worse, further infuriating Mr. Mason. He was demanding, get his boss here immediately. It was no wonder Sam was exhausted, dealing with such a call right after returning from training. What is that idiot doing? All right, Adam, you're coming with me. If sacrificing Mike didn't work, then I must be next. Normally, I'd want to refuse at all costs, but I saw an opportunity in this situation. If I can be of assistance, I'd be happy to join you. I obediently followed Nick, and we flew to New York. When we introduced ourselves at the reception, it became clear how serious the situation was. As the receptionist personally escorted us to the president's office. Angry voices leaked through the door, making both Nick and me uneasy. Excuse me. I'm Nick, the supervisor. I understand my subordinate has caused you trouble, and I deeply apologize. Nick, with his experience in the corporate world, knew enough to offer an apology before excuses. However, his customer service skills left much to be desired. I sighed as I saw Mike trembling like a small dog in the corner of the room. What kind of training are you giving your subordinates? Mr. Mason glared at Nick with a red face. The intensity of his gaze made even Nick take a step back. Regrettably, I joined this company only 2 years ago and was unaware of Mike's issues. I should have identified his shortcomings sooner. Indeed. I should have realized sooner. No sensible person would come to apologize and then give a lengthy presentation on the drawbacks of not using their inn. Nick froze, his mouth slightly open. Suspecting the worst, I picked up the documents that had fallen to the floor. It seemed Mike hastily prepared these documents on the plane, listing the disadvantages. Disadvantage 1: if you change the venue for the company trip, employees might suspect it's for cost-cutting reasons, leading to a negative impression. Reading it aloud half-jokingly, Nick snatched the papers from my hand and checked the contents with a furious expression. Among the stack of documents was a receipt from a nearby convenience store's copy machine. I felt a pang of dread, hoping he hadn't shown the receipt as well. What do you think he said when I asked what kind of nerve he had to do this? I'm very sorry. Faced with the dire situation, Nick must have thought there was nothing left to do but apologize. In a voice smaller than I'd ever heard from him, he uttered words of apology. He said, "I'm a Harvard graduate. I don't believe I said anything wrong." Mike! What have you done? Forgetting his plan to pin the blame on Mike, Nick yelled loudly, even in front of Mr. Mason. "I didn't do anything wrong." "You're still saying that? Look at him." Mike pointed at me with a shaking hand. "I was assigned to headquarters in my 20s and now I'm a section chief. This guy only made it to headquarters at 42. Everything I've done proves I was right. So why are we losing the contract?" Having said his piece, Mike collapsed to the floor. "Of course. You were sent there because you had nowhere else to go." Mike never expected to hear such words from someone he looked down upon. He lunged at me, and Nick hurriedly stepped in to stop him. "Mr. Thompson told me Mike is a quick thinker, and to take good care of him." There's no way he was pushed aside. "Don't make things worse here. He didn't say quick thinker, he said only quick-witted, didn't he?" I don't remember that part." I recalled the many troubles Mike caused when he was a newbie. When Mike was on the front line, his pride was so high that he never apologized to customers. Customer service, especially in our job, doesn't work alone. It brings both good and bad situations. If the front staff or housekeepers made mistakes, or the cleaning company didn't properly clean a room, one had to apologize to the customers regardless of personal fault. Mike, in such situations, would never apologize, insisting he wasn't at fault. This often angered customers, and as the front desk leader, I frequently had to apologize on his behalf. He caused complaints and disrupted operations, which is why he was quickly moved to headquarters. In departments where he didn't interact directly with customers, his quick thinking was beneficial and things went well. But it seemed his flaws were starting to show. Corporate reservations are supposed to be entered into the system by the sales representative. But a quick check yesterday revealed that more than 10 items were missing from the client's reservation. The handover document clearly stated what needed to be prepared. Why didn't you enter it into the system? Why do we have to give them special treatment? Filling rooms near the banquet hall, setting up all the food in advance. Specifying the brand of wine, they're too demanding. No wonder he always angered customers, I thought, feeling a headache coming on. Grouping them in rooms near the banquet hall is for our benefit too. It makes it easier for the staff to set up beds and serve breakfast since everyone's schedule is synchronized. As for the other requests, Mr. Mason suggested them to lighten our load. I didn't know that. Nick finally seemed to realize that Mike was the one who had angered the client. What did you say to them? I just told them we wouldn't give them special treatment anymore. We shouldn't waste effort on things that don't bring in money. I was utterly exasperated at his lack of understanding of customer service. Of course, we shouldn't comply with unreasonable demands. But carrying over successful practices from past stays makes customers feel remembered and enhances their experience. Good memories encourage repeat visits. That's part of our job. I looked down at Mike, who was sitting on the floor. In our job, nothing is a waste. Mr. Thompson likely moved you to the sales department, hoping you'd finally understand this. How do you think he feels now that you failed to meet his expectations? Mike, tears in his eyes, fled the president's office. I was amazed he still hadn't apologized. You have it tough, Adam. It's okay, we're all employees of the same company. I deeply apologize for this disrespectful incident. Especially after all the care you've shown us. If it weren't for you, Adam, I really would have stopped staying here. When I heard you were moving to the sales department, I was willing to reconsider if you handled it. Seeing us talk so amicably, Nick's face contorted. Do you two know each other? Adam's service is excellent. I always requested him specifically. Normally, we don't accept specific staff requests, but we made an exception for Mr. Mason, adjusting my shifts accordingly. He had personally stayed at our hotel just before my transfer, and during casual conversation, I mentioned, I'm moving to the sales department soon. If I hadn't told him then, things could have been much worse. Please continue to take care of us. I look forward to it. On the return flight, Nick awkwardly offered me a can of beer. It's still working hours. Of course, I had no intention of forgiving him for a single beer. Nick might try to pin everything on Mike and avoid any consequences. While pondering this, a startling fact came to light. Nick, the tea bottles for the plan have arrived. I handed Nick a bottle labeled with our inn's name. They look good. What are you talking about? These are plastic bottles. I had assumed we would use the trendy, high-end bottling tea. But what arrived were ordinary plastic bottles of tea with customized labels. The only unique aspect was the label, which had the inn's name, making it look customized. Upon further investigation, I discovered that a substantial amount of money was set to be paid to the tea company. It was priced like bottling tea. Does this plastic bottle really cost $100 each? The tea inside is specially blended for us. The extra cost is for that. Wouldn't it be better to use another tea company? Or is there a specific reason we must use this one? As Nick continued to make excuses, I showed him a printed email. I informed the tea company's president, Mr. Mitchell, that we discovered irregular payments and he confessed. He said you two were high school classmates and planned to split the extra money. That idiot. Why did he confess? That's not important. You should worry about yourself, this could turn into a police matter. Opening the bottle cap, I suggested. How about calming down with this tea? It supposedly has a relaxing effect. Nick drank the tea frantically. In the following days, decisions were made about their fates. Mike was reassigned to the General Affairs Department, with no chance of transfer or promotion, as per Mr. Thompson's orders. As for Nick, since the payment to the tea company hadn't yet been made, he narrowly avoided legal trouble. Instead, he was encouraged to leave the company, and to avoid further complications, Nick submitted his resignation. Rumor has it that connections between HR departments have made it difficult for him to find new employment. Even though it was good to have those two gone, something unexpected happened in the sales department. Everyone became motivated and united in refining the 50th anniversary plan. In the end, my plan was adopted. We collaborated with the Tourist Information Center to provide personalized guides. The plan, tailored to the number of guests, was truly special for the 50th anniversary. Hey, is Adam's family coming to stay? I immediately booked that special plan for my family. Sam noticed it on the reservation list and quickly picked up on it. Yes, I'm inviting my father. That's great. I might invite my parents too. I lacked the courage to face my father just as Adam. But here, with the confidence Mr. Mason praised, I felt ready. The 50th anniversary plan was a perfect opportunity to reconnect with my father. I hoped to bring back the days when we could laugh together as we once did.